Is it better to go darker with your foundation or to go lighter with it? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I know that I say that I'm very excited in every video, but like this one is a very special one to me. Like it's very near and dear to my heart because I've been meaning to do it for the longest time, and I've always like gotten sort of like afraid to do it because I feel like maybe I may not get all the information out that I need to get out about these products. But I'm finally here. I'm finally sitting down. We're shooting this video. So today's video is like a beginner's guide to foundation, but we're mainly focusing on like undertones and shade matching. So if you want to see how to figure out your undertone, how to find the right shade for you, all of those details, just keep watching. As you can see, my chest is sort of all out because we are going to be swatching colors over here. So if you want to see that and more, then just keep watching. First of all, again, if you're not following me on Instagram, you are missing out because this tutorial will be on the gram. I'll link it down below. But yeah, I don't really do makeup tutorials on my channel. Let me know if you want to see one because I kind of have one in mind that I want to go up sooner than later. But yeah, let me know if you're interested in seeing those. But I am dying for the way this look came out. So I know this is a foundation video, so I shouldn't even have foundation on, but I will take it off at some point in this video just so we can swatch on my face as well as on my chest. But priorities, we're gonna start by talking about the undertones. Now, undertones are in 5 main categories that I am aware of. I don't know if there's more. If there is, let me know in the comments down below because we're all here to be educated. You know, I'm not saying that I know everything. All of this, by the way, is like my opinion and by my experience and what I have learned in my short time being obsessed with makeup, basically. So I've done like a ton of research to figure out my own shade, to figure out my own undertones. So this is just basically me teaching you what I know. Yeah. So the 5 categories of undertones: there's a yellow undertone, red undertone, neutral undertone. Those are the 3 most prominent ones, like the most popular because they are the most common ones. And then we have olive undertones and golden undertone. Now, yellow and golden are often thought to be the same thing. And to be really honest, I don't quite know the difference. I feel like golden is just like a richer sort of yellow, but neutral undertone is like a mix of yellow and red. So you can't really tell, like you don't really lean either way. Like either of those undertones don't really work for you. They kind of make you look ashy. And that's what happens when you wear the wrong foundation undertone. Even if the shade is correct for you, it does leave you looking very casket ready. So we're not about that life on this channel. Red undertones are basically just red colors. There is a very easy way of telling what your undertone is. I like to do the cheek test where I like blow up my cheeks. You blow them up completely so you can really see the skin all stretched out. And when you look at it, just the first color that comes to mind. If you look at yourself and the first color that comes to mind is yellow or red, I feel like that's the best way to tell what your undertone is. Because like if you look at my hand here, just at first glance, especially in this area, when you look at this, if I tell you, if I put a gun to your head and I'm like, choose yellow or choose red, what color do you see? You'll obviously say yellow. So that's my undertone. I am yellow undertoned. For some people, if you do that exact same thing, you'll see like a pinkish sort of reddish tint on their skin. That's a red undertoned person. For some people, you won't really be able to tell. Like you generally will not know if it's red or if it's yellow because it's sort of a combination of both. Then those are neutral undertoned people. That is the easiest, by far, my absolute favorite way of telling. The hardest one that I've heard is people tell you like, what jewelry do you look best in? Like I wear gold and I wear silver, and I wear it because I like it, not because I feel like it complements my earthy undertones. So like I don't understand. If you can tell your undertone through that, more power to you, but I cannot figure it out for the life of me. So I like to blow up my cheeks, look at the actual color on my skin, on my cheeks, on everywhere, and see what is like my instant go-to answer. That's usually what the undertone is. Another really easy way to tell is, I don't know if you can see the veins on my hands, but let me come in closer just so you can see. Hopefully you can actually tell that the veins on my hands, like when you look at my veins, they are green, right? That means you have yellow undertones. For people with red undertones, when you look at the veins on their arms, they are blue because of the colors and the shifting and science, and I'm not a scientist, so I don't know how to explain it to you. But basically, red undertone people see blue veins. Not that they're hallucinating, they actually see their veins being blue colored. So if your veins look green to you, yellow undertone. If your veins look blue to you, red undertone. If you cannot tell, again, if you can't actually tell, if they look greenish bluish to you, neutral undertone, because you are a perfect mix of both the yellow and the red undertone. I hope that made it clear. Olive undertones are yellow undertoned people with like green ish tones to them. So I'll try to find pictures of like people with these different undertones and insert them here just so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. But there are some people who are not like a straight up yellow undertone. They have yellow in them, but they also have like a greenish look to them. That's olive color. So to demonstrate my point even further, I'm just going to push my hair back off my chest and we're going to swatch a few colors. So I'm starting with one that is very, very obviously yellow. The thing about undertones is that it's very rarely like a straight up color. So you might find someone is like a yellow to neutral undertone or like a red to neutral undertone. So it is okay to go with something that's a bit more neutral but still a bit more yellow. So I feel like this is a pretty obviously yellow color, but you can see a tiny little bit of like neutral tones to it. Now the next two that I have to swatch for you are very interesting to me because these are the exact same shade. So this is a shade 10 with a yellow undertone and a shade 10 with a red undertone with a yellow undertone. So you can see they do look different, but they are in the same color family because they both have yellow undertones. Whereas this is shade 10 with a pink undertone, like with a more reddish undertone. And you see the difference in the color. Like when you look at this, you do see a bit more like pinky hints to it. Whereas when you look at this, it does look richer and warmer, which is more yellow. So your undertone is what determines what foundations will work for you. So I bought this at first and it made me look so great throughout the day. So I went on the hunt for the yellow undertone in the exact same shade. These are the exact same color, but you can see the undertone can make it perform so differently. So even when you do get the right shade of foundation, you have to make sure it's the right undertone of foundation or you will still look gray, and it's not because your foundation is too light, you know. The next foundation I have to show you is one that's more yellow neutral. Most of my foundations will be yellow based just because that is my undertone, so I'm not going to purposefully buy the wrong undertone foundation, if that makes any sense. But I have, even knowing my undertone, I have gone through a whole range of the spectrum on my undertone, so it is still important to like see where the subtle differences will come in so you can know how yellow you need to go. But this one is like more of a yellow neutral color. And as you can see, it's 100 times yellower than this pink one, but it's still not quite yellow enough to work for me. So even this shade will make me look gray because you can see the difference between the correct yellow shade for me and this yellow neutral shade. Like it just doesn't work out. It made me look very, very casket ready, and I do have to mix it in if I am to wear this foundation, but I did want to swatch it for you just so you can see the difference. The next shade that I have is one that is straight up neutral. Now this was gifted to me and it is not my undertone at all. So you can see how much cooler it looks. It doesn't look cool as in pinky, but okay, in my opinion, this is a very, very neutral undertone because I feel like it's just devoid of color. Like it doesn't lean pink, but it doesn't lean yellow either. So that's my definition of neutral. Now, the next colors that I have to swatch are the olive colors. So these ones have like a really rich green yellow undertone to them. And it's really difficult to explain. It's difficult to visualize unless you've seen it like in person. So they are quite dark. Like the shades that I have are very, very dark. The other shades in the palette lean a bit more yellow, so you may not be able to really tell, but I feel like even looking at my fingers, this literally look like shades of green. So I'm just going to swatch them next to these others. Do you see how it literally looks like I have green eyeshadow on my body? This is why knowing your undertone is so important, because if someone whose correct undertone is this wears a straight up yellow shade, it's gonna look ashy on them, it's gonna look very casket ready on them, and they won't understand why. So sometimes you'll find like maybe your tone is like yellow, but there's just a little bit of something missing when you're wearing your foundations. It still looks a little bit gray. You might want to mix in a bit of an olive tone foundation into that color just to make it match you perfectly. But yes, olive tones, these last two actually do exist. Since I do have a palette that's basically all olive tones, let me swatch a shade that I am closer to right next to it so you can see. When I wear this shade, it's a little bit too green on me, basically. Like it's very evident that it doesn't quite match me right, but you can definitely see from the swatches that the olives are in the yellow color family. They're just a different kind of yellow. They're just like a yellow with like a little bit of oomph, you know, like a little extra something special in them, you know. Oh, sorry, I've brought the mirror too close. So you can see these three last shades are the olive tones. What I think companies mistake for golden undertone that just needs to stop, because this is a bit too much, is an orange undertone. There is no person, especially with the darker shades, they seem to assume black people are like orange undertone people. We are not Oompa Loompas on the inside. So these are the actual valid undertones that exist. But I do have two very, very orange foundations to swatch for you, just so you can see what an orange foundation actually looks like. And you can make it work if you really share it out, or maybe use it as a mix-in. So for example, if you happen to buy two very wrong undertone foundations, so if you have a super neutral foundation and a super orange foundation, then you can mix the two in together to try to get yourself somewhere closer to where you need to be. Or if you have a foundation that's a little bit too light for you, then I would mix in an orange foundation to like bring in the warmth and like bring in some sort of color match, or an orange foundation in your shade obviously, or like darker than you obviously, just to like tone down the lightness of the foundation you want to use and like bring it closer to your skin tone. So as you can see, the orange in these foundations is very, very real. I feel like they assume that every black person needs like color correcting, so we want to color correct all over our faces, but it doesn't make any sense. So I'm just going to wipe all these off my chest and we shall swatch a brand new shades that I have to show you that I'm so excited about. So yeah, let's take a picture of this in case you want like a reference of the undertones that exist. So now that we have a better understanding of undertones and how they can affect whatever shade you're using, I am so excited to be showing this to you guys. I literally have all these foundations to swatch for you. These are 8 shades and it's not even half of what the collection is. So the Maybelline Fit Me range has expanded its shades to 17, if I'm not mistaken. I hope I'm right. I believe they're 17. I will correct it on the screen if I'm wrong. But there are 17 dark skin friendly shades to choose from. So as we've seen, the undertone matters just as much as the shade. So the expansion was done to cater for so many different undertones even within the same shade. So you may have been like a shade 60 before, but the undertone wasn't quite right for you, so now 59 would be right for you, or 61 would be right for you. So there's so many new undertones that have been introduced, and these bottles are slippery. They clearly want to fall out of my hand. Thank God they're plastic, so I'm not worried about dropping them. But I do have 8 of the shades to swatch for you, so hopefully, I swear they literally want it. I'm just gonna hold them like this. So hopefully you find your shade in the ones that I have to swatch for you. If you don't, there are so many others, so many more. I'm just going to swatch these on my chest. We'll try to find my perfect shade from what I have here. Hopefully one of these works out for me. So I'm going to swatch them and then take off my foundation and we'll match it to my face. 334, 335, 356, 358, 360, 362, 364, and 380. So these are all the Maybelline Fit Me foundation shades that I have. They do look quite yellow, so I think that's part of what the revamp of the shades was all about, is to add more yellow shades. This is the only one, and this is 358, that looks pretty straight up neutral to me. And if I was to guess, I would say that this darker shade is what could be the red undertone from all the shades that I have here. But I feel like anywhere from this range could actually work for me, minus the neutral one, of course. But I will just take off my foundation so we can swatch these 5 shades, so you can see step by step of how I come to the conclusion of which shade is my perfect shade. And keep in mind that I don't have all the numbers, so I don't know if there's like a 59 between the 58 and 60. I don't know if there's a 57 between the 56 and 58, so maybe those are there and they have different undertones. I'm not sure. Check out the full range. Obviously go to any of their stands, any of their stores, and you'll be able to like swatch them for yourself, play with them for yourself, swatch them on your hand and like go home and like see how you feel about it. But yeah, this is what I have so far, and I'm just going to take off my makeup and we'll get to swatching. Now, I am in a position that a lot of people find themselves in, where your face is a different color from your neck, which is a different color from your body, which is a different color from your hand. So this is why professionals say that you should never swatch a foundation on like your hand, because this is a completely different color from what my face needs. I match my foundation to my body. I know some people match their foundations to their faces, but if I was to do that, I would literally have darkness from here going up, and it will look like I have a floating head, whereas my body is a completely different color. I match it to like the highest points of my face, you know, the parts that would usually have concealer. So like this T-zone sort of cheek area part of my face, because it is the lightest part of my face, but it's not quite as light as my body. So it's sort of like a good in-between ground where my body color and my face color can sort of meet. Because if I was to go in with a shade that matches my body absolutely perfectly, it would look ashy on my face because the darkness would come through, everything would just like turn gray and it just wouldn't match. The way that you should swatch foundation is on your jawline. So that is what I'm going to do with these 5 shades. Okay, so I'm sorry my swatches are not absolute perfection, but hopefully you can actually see the difference and like the gradient in color, because I feel like these are the shades that are closest to each other. Again, I don't have all the shades, and I'm definitely not going to swatch this darker shade over here, 380, because it's obviously way too dark for me. So here we have 356, which looks to be a pretty good match to my body, but it looks to be a little bit too light for my face. I feel like if I wear this on my face, it will make me look super casket ready. So I don't think I am 356. 358 was an obvious no-no because it is very neutral. And as you can see, especially compared to 356, like swatched right next to each other, you can see how obvious the difference in undertone is. This is 360, which is, they all literally look like they're the same color, but you can see the difference in undertone is making such a huge difference. So 356 looks so much lighter, and yet it's just like one step lighter. 360 is the shade that I usually wear, and it does match me pretty well. 362, a little bit too dark, but it does have a yellow undertone, so I wouldn't be opposed to trying that. 364, also too dark, but it does have a yellow undertone, so I wouldn't be opposed to trying that either. So I think actually I'm going to go into 356 just to completely rule it out and blend it out just on half my cheek, just so we can have like a before and after to compare it. So I'll do 356 here and 360 here, and we'll see which one matches me better. So here we have 356, here we have 360, and as you can see, there is a huge difference in the shades once you let them dry down completely. So I have just blended each color up to about halfway on my cheek. So this is actually no foundation on my cheek, and right here is where the foundation is. So you can actually see the difference in like how it matches me. 356. 360. Based on what I'm seeing over here, 356 matches my body the closest, and it matches the lightest parts of my face the best. So I would be tempted to go with that, but 360 is just like a little bit darker, so it matches the darker parts of my face a little bit better. It matches my neck a little bit better because I am 4 different colors. My face has one color, my neck has a different color, my chest has a different color, and my hands have a different color. So I can't match my foundation to my neck because then it will be darkening my face. I can't match my foundation to my chest because then to be lightening it too much. So I try to sort of find like middle ground, and I feel like 360 is more of like the in-between middle ground, whereas with 356, if I was to wear this, I'd have to first of all use a lot more product to make sure the darkest parts of my face are completely caked over and like covered up in order to like lighten them sort of, and then I'd have to drag the foundation all the way down on my neck to completely cover up and like cancel out any darkness around there. Whereas with 360, I feel like it is sort of close-ish to the color of my neck, close to the darkest parts of my face. It's not too dark where it's looking drastically different from my chest. So it is a really good middle ground for all the things that I need, and I don't have to struggle so much. And just for reference, this is what 360 looks like when it's wet. This is what it looks like when it's dry, and you can see it matches me absolutely perfectly. So you see, when you look at this color, you'd think, oh no, that's not the right undertone for me, that's not the right shade for me, or whatever, but you really do have to let them dry down completely in order to get a true representation of what the color payoff will be. So you see, with 360, I don't need quite as much foundation to cover up my darker areas. I don't need as much to cover up my lighter areas. Like, it's a really good middle ground for me. So this is the shade that I'm going for. This is the shade to beat. So I'm going to do 362 on this side of my face and see how that works out. So this is 362, and you can see with the correct undertone, it's also a seamless blend into my skin. I feel like it matches the darkest parts of my face absolutely perfectly, which means that it will be darkening the lighter parts of my face. And I feel like that's sort of going in the opposite direction that I want, because what I want is something that will be a closer match to my body, whereas this one is like matching my neck a bit better. So it's actually matching my neck pretty spot on. So it looks like it works really, really well. And if I'm wearing like a turtleneck or something, I can definitely pull that off. But if I'm wearing something that shows off my shoulders or shows off my chest or my arms or anything like that, then it becomes very evident. Like, I'm going into the floating head territory, which is what I don't want. I mean, it literally melts into my skin and disappears. It matches my face perfectly to a T. So I can wear 360, I can wear 362, but I feel like I'm still gonna stick to 360 just because it is middle ground. But this is a really good shade as well. So this is the shade 364, and now we can sort of start to see when I'm going for a foundation that's a little bit too dark for me. So I do feel like it's sort of making this side of my face look a little bit more like shadowed, like sunken in a little bit, because the shade is wrong for me. But because the undertone is right for me, I can almost pull this off. Like, if I go in with like too much concealer, I can definitely still make this work. But this is 364, a little bit too dark for me. It is a shade right here. So when they dry down, you can see that they do look pretty similar, but this just feels a little bit too dark. Like, it feels like it's sort of just shadowing my face is the best way that I can describe it. Whereas on this side of my face, I feel like my face just looks plumped and like rejuvenated and alive, whereas this side looks just a little bit shadowy, just a little bit too dark. So 364 is definitely just not the right shade for me. And that's another question that I wanted to answer in this video. Is it better to go darker with your foundation or to go lighter with it? Here's how I see it, yeah? If you have lighter skin tone, like if you are a white person, a Caucasian person, or maybe an Asian person, then maybe you can go lighter with your foundation because you have the option of bronzing, so you can bring a bit of warmth and a bit of darkness back to the face. If you are a darker skin person, it is easier for you to go darker with your foundation and then just use like concealer in the center of your face to like bring back the light. If you're a dark skin person and you go with a light foundation, even when you do try to add bronzers and whatever, you're still going to look very casket ready, very ashy. Like let's say the only foundations that I had available were 356 or 364 and I couldn't mix, I had to pick one. I would definitely pick 364 and then use a light concealer to like bring brightness and dimension and like light back to my face and then make it work like that. Whereas if I wore 356, even after I contoured, even if I attempted to bronze and it didn't really work because bronzing never works for me for whatever reason, I would still be looking ashy and whatever darkness there is on my face would start to come through the foundation, which is what would make it look casket ready. So there's a lot to consider when you are choosing your foundation, but these are a few of the tips that I really hope you found helpful. I'm gonna end this video here because I've been talking for way too long. I really hope this video isn't too long, but thank you so much for sticking with me to the very end. I appreciate you. If you have stuck around this long, let me know what your foundation shade is in the comments down below, and I will randomly pick a winner and maybe give out a foundation. Just one though, and only if you have watched this video to the very end. So if you have, leave me a heart emoji in the comments down below because I want to reward you all for sticking with me throughout this very long video because I have been talking for like 2 hours, so I really hope it's not too long. But yes, thank you for watching. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you found it helpful, share with a friend if you have these kinds of questions. The next thing I will be talking about is like coverage, so like full coverage versus medium light coverage, so we will discuss that in a different video. But thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe, leave me a comment obviously, and I will see you in my next video.